Squiz Kids acknowledges the traditional owners of the lands on which we podcast, the Turrbal and Gadigal people.
Squiz Kids!
It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.
Hello and welcome to this special episode of Squiz Kids Q&A, the first in 2 sponsored episodes proudly brought to you by our friends at Visit Canberra. Today, I'm going to be talking to Sandra Bruce from the National Portrait Gallery of Australia. Now, I'm not especially gifted in the art department, but I do love good art. And I love that you can make or appreciate or be moved by good art, no matter how old or young you are. So, let's jump straight in and chat with Sandra, who I believe has some exciting news for any budding artists out there. So Sandra Bruce, let's start at the very beginning. It is, after all, a very good place to start. Can you tell us, what is a portrait?
What is a portrait? It's an artwork that is a picture of a person. It doesn't have to be a painting. It could be an artwork that's made with anything else. It could be a photograph, it could be a sculpture, it could even be a textile or a video work. But it's essentially an artwork that helps us understand another person, often what they look like, and maybe a little bit more about them too.
Intriguing. And so the obvious next question is, what is the National Portrait Gallery and where is it located?
Well, the National Portrait Gallery, its full name is of Australia. So we sit in the capital of Australia in Canberra. We're on the southern shore of the Lake Burley Griffin,
Lovely.
Which is that huge body of water in the middle of the city.
Mm-hmm.
And we are lucky enough to collect portraits of amazing Australians that have done amazing things for this country. And we also have fantastic exhibitions where all sorts of people can send in portraits that they've made.
Awesome, and we're going to come to that because that's one of the questions I have. But can you tell me, I mean, you are surrounded by amazing works of portraiture every day when you go to work. What makes portraiture such a special kind of artwork?
Well, I think, I'm kind of old now. I've been around for a long time. I can even remember last century, which is kind of scary. And I was even lucky enough to go to art school after I, finished primary school and finished high school, and I went to art school. So I really love art.
Yep.
But I'm also a bit of a sticky beak, so I love, everybody likes people watching, and I love learning about people. And so I think what makes a really good portrait for me is that first and foremost, it's an amazing artwork. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows that if it's a good artwork, there's something about it that catches you. It could be the colour, it could be the line, It could be the shape. Mm-hmm. So first, it's an artwork, and second, it's giving me a hint about a person, and I want to learn about them, and I want to know more about them, and I want my sticky beak gene to come out. And so that's, to me, they're the 2 main ingredients that make an amazing portrait.
And I suppose, would I be right in saying that a good portrait tells a story?
Oh, definitely. I think it's one thing, ultimately we all make portraits because we love taking photos of ourselves and putting them on our Insta or our Snapchat or the TikTok thing.
Yeah.
They're all essentially moving portraits, aren't they? Mm-hmm. But they're very of the moment and very immediate. Mm-hmm. And I think portraits, the more traditional portraits, the ones that people want to frame and put on the wall or put on a plinth in a gallery, they still tell a story about somebody because the artist is using their creativity to give us hints about someone. They could even be putting symbols in the work, It could be, there's a portrait we might talk about in a little while where the sitter, that's the person that's in the artwork, they're featured with their favourite pet, their cat. And so that tells us something about that person, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Now, among the Squiz Kids audience, there's some incredibly talented young artists, I'm pleased to say. Can you explain to me a little bit about the National Portrait Gallery's Little Darlings competition?
Yes. So one of the best things that we do every year is we have what we call portrait prizes. Yep. And we've got a couple for grown-ups, and that's great. We've got the National Photographic Portrait Prize every year. Mm-hmm. And every 2 years we have the Darling Portrait Prize. Mm-hmm. That's a painting prize. But what we decided to do was, well, that's lovely. Paintings by grown-ups are wonderful and they're amazing, but they're not the only people that make art. so let's initiate the Little Darlings Youth Portrait Prize. And so that is where kids from around the country can submit a portrait that they've made and they're proud of. I've got to be honest, we get hundreds of entries because there's a hell of a lot of talented kids out there. And then 12 of those artists get selected to be included in the Little Darlings Portrait Prize once every 2 years. It's very exciting.
Amazing. And so there's a portrait prize which will be coming up next year, will be the next one. Is that right?
That's exactly right. Because I just said it's every 2 years, which might... So what I'm about to say might confuse people. Right. But we've actually had one this year as well.
Okay.
Because with COVID and the pandemic and everything, we thought, you know what, let's do something special this year as well. So we've actually got the 2023 Little Darlings on at the moment.
Fantastic.
But entries are already open for next year's 2024 Little Darlings. So kids can enter for next year now.
Amazing. And will the winners have their portraits hung in the National Portrait Gallery of Australia?
Yeah, they will.
Amazing.
There's all 12 on display, and they are the winners because there's a judging process, and I was one of the judges this year. It's fun, but it's not easy. And as far as we're concerned, all 12 artists that are exhibited, they are the winners because we've had to choose them out of hundreds and hundreds of entries.
Yeah.
And it's good because there's categories, there's age categories as well. Okay. So there's finalists in the 5 to 7 year age group, the 8 to 11 years, 12 to 15 years, and then the big kids, the 16 to 18 year age group.
Amazing. And how would our Squiz Kids audience go about taking part in next year's competition, submitting an entry?
Well, if they go onto our website, it's a really easy one. It's portrait.gov, G-O-V, for government.au. They go onto our website and then go into search for Little Darlings. They'll get to see this year's winners. Yeah. And they're absolutely amazing. And there's also a link there to where you can see what you have to do to be able to enter for next year.
Now, I know that art is in the eye of the beholder, meaning every work of art can mean something different to every person who looks at it. But what would you say makes for a great portrait?
For me, what makes a great portrait, do you know what, to be perfectly honest, it could have stick figures in it.
Yeah.
Or it could have something that looks like it was better than I ever could have done when I was at art school in my 20s, you know. I mean, it is all about the artist capturing something about that sitter, about that person, that then captures the viewer. And you just go, wow, I cannot believe it. Who is that person? What are they doing?
Yes.
You know, all of those sorts of things.
Absolutely. I suppose one of the most famous portraits that Squiz Kids might know would be the Mona Lisa.
Yes, the Mona Lisa. I've been lucky enough to see Mona in life. Can't see in the flesh, but I've seen her in real life because I've travelled to the gallery that she lives in Paris.
Yes.
You know what? You hear this a lot about people on television as well. She's not as big as you'd think she is. She's actually
pretty small, isn't she?
She's quite petite. But that sort of cheeky half smile look on her face, it gets you. It absolutely gets you.
It's amazing, isn't it? Now, Squiz Kids are always interested to know how people got into the work they're in. So can you tell us a little bit about your path? Were you good at art school, or is it a job you'd recommend, and why?
So I talked a little bit about, you know, how old I am and the fact that I've been to art school. So, yeah, I really enjoyed art as a kid.
Yeah.
And my mum made art and my grandma made art, and maybe it's in the genes, but when I finished high school and was trying to work out what to do with myself, I decided to apply for art school. So I've got a long association. I've got a really old love of the arts, and so getting a job in a gallery for me, or even a museum, to be honest, was sort of how I felt like I could still be really connected with who makes art in Australia and what they're making and what they're doing and how lovely and exciting it is, but do it in a way where I'm supporting other people.
Wonderful. Now, of course, the National Portrait Gallery of Australia isn't the only incredible museum showcasing brilliant works of art in Canberra. Which other great art attractions could visitors to Canberra visit if they come down there?
Oh, no. There's so many to choose from. I mean, we're right next door to the National Gallery of Australia.
Wow.
I have to absolutely say that that's worth a visit.
Yes.
There's the Canberra Museum and Art Gallery on the other side of the lake, up in the middle of Canberra in city. And so that tells Canberra's story through art, but it also has a beautiful art collection. Yeah, so just exploring the whole of Canberra. You get to see art outside as well.
Fantastic. So much fun. Well, Sandra Bruce from the National Portrait Gallery of Australia, thank you so much for joining Squiz Kids. It's been a delight to chat with you.
Lovely to talk to you too, Bryce.
Well, how good was that? I don't know about you, but that's inspired me to pick up a paintbrush, whip out the watercolours, and get crazy with a canvas. If you're keen to learn more about the National Portrait Gallery of Australia and the portrait competition Little Darlings, check out the links in today's episode notes, or visit the gallery's website, www.portrait.gov.au. And of course, there's a lot more than museums in Canberra. Mums, dads, teachers, check out the Visit Canberra link in the episode notes today for some great ways to inspire and entertain the kids on your next trip to the nation's capital. Why not chug on over to Western Park for a train ride and mini golf, or get a taste of the snowfields only 45 minutes away from the city centre at Corran Forest? Well, that's all we have time for today. Thanks again to our friends at Visit Canberra for making this chat possible, and don't forget to get out there and have a most excellent day. Over and out.